Welcome. Really happy today to be part of a panel discussion brought together by the Race Amity Club at North Andover High. My name is Brian Sheehy. I'm the History Department Coordinator. I'm also the advisor to the Race Amity Club. Over the past couple of years, we've done a lot in North Andover to kind of break down some barriers, to build some connections with different groups of people who are in our community. And we figured that making these videos would be extremely helpful in just talking about some of the issues that are happening in the world today. And I have a great group of students who are active members of the club here today to talk about a couple of things that are happening in the world. We'll start with Eamon. We'll just go around.
Hi, my name's Eamon O'Carroll. I am a rising senior at North Andover High School. I've been involved with Race Amity for the past 2 years, and I'm really encouraged by the discussions that we're beginning to have. Supraja.
Hi, I'm Supraja Ganti. I'm also a rising senior at North Andover High. I've been involved with Race Amity for the past 2.5 years, and I'm now the president. And I'm really happy that we got together a group to talk about an issue that's really, really important right now.
You pick who's next, Supraja.
Shruti.
Hi, I'm Shruti. I'm also a rising senior at the North Andover High School, and I've been at Race Amity for 2 years now, and we usually host an annual Race Amity Day, but because of COVID, that didn't happen, but I'm glad to see that we're able to do something with our platform.
Hi, I'm Anika Schroff. I'm also a rising senior. I've been a part of Race Amity for the past 2 years, and I'm excited to hear what everyone has to say.
Great. So let's kick into these questions. This is kind of a broader question, just kind of getting how you guys feel about George Floyd, the protests today, the taking down of the monuments all over the world. I think it's a really important time in history, and I just want to get your opinions on how you as young people feel about some of these things happening. So we'll go in the same order that we went in introducing ourselves.
Okay, so personally, I think that the death of George Floyd was a heinous act of murder. And the reason that people have been so stirred up is because, that video, the 8 minutes and 46 seconds long video circulating on the internet, was people witnessing a murder, which many whites especially had not seen before. But I also think that the root cause of the anger is tied up with the pandemic. And so people need to realize that this explosion of anger has not just been, it has been building for quite some time. It's not just this one event that caused it. Supraja.
Amen. Yeah, I totally echo what you're saying. And I think it's almost disappointing that it had to take something so violent, so gruesome, to actually have our country kind of rise up and educate themselves and speak out about this issue. And I think that it's really good that we're starting to have these kind of conversations because they were long overdue. Shruti?
Yeah, I agree with your point that this might be something that not a lot of people in America have seen on video before, but also with the flow of more information going on in social media, I feel like a lot of videos are resurfacing that are similar to George. So I think this is a buildup of past trauma in the Black community. And with your point on the pandemic, I think the pandemic just has a role of showing the injustice in the system, and particularly the healthcare system, because I know we've all heard the stat that the pandemic is hitting the Black community harder. And this is definitely due to injustices in healthcare. And I think that could also be a factor of more violent protests, but definitely a buildup.
Yeah, Shruti was saying, I think this has definitely caused more videos to resurface. And overall, I think it's just made people more like aware of the issue. And it's sad that it took like this one specific incident for that to happen. We should probably have been more aware of this before, but I know that this definitely like caused more people to like learn about the issue and actually like take some action.
So, how do you feel about the fact that that George Floyd has become a martyr for the Black Lives Matter movement? Because he does have a pretty lengthy rap sheet. People are saying, I want my son to be like George Floyd, but this is a man who served 5 years in prison for armed robbery, a man who had drug possession charges before. So, do you think he has just been the memory of George Floyd has been hijacked for the cause of this movement, or how should his death be properly treated? Because I think his death has been hijacked and he's been taken advantage of, his image.
I think I'll speak to that a little bit, but I think that I wouldn't call it a hijack just because if you take that incident only and just forget about the past and look at that moment, a lot of the aggression by the police was done because he was a Black man. If there's a caller audio sent out, CNN sent it out, but I listened to it, and the shopkeeper, he definitely sounded like not all right. He wasn't like speaking fluently. Something was going on. And when he said that it was a Black man, the side of the police side. And then when they came in, I definitely think if they saw a white man, they wouldn't have given so much aggression. And I think that's why the Black community is harping on George Floyd, because regardless of his past, it comes down to that one moment where the police found out he was a Black man and they treated him differently.
I think that's the key piece to this, right? Is regardless of anybody's background, do they deserve to be treated and handled the way he was? And I think that that's what has a lot of people so angry is, how could you treat any human being like that? And I'll let you guys continue. Maybe another way of phrasing this, and kind of moving away from some of the violent protest. We've had some protests in our community. There was one in Andover last week. There was one in North Andover a couple days ago. How do you guys feel about that? I know, Supraja, you were there.
Yeah. One thing first of all, we made the news, which was really, really amazing. I think that one thing that they explicitly said that in North Andover it was a vigil, so it was a peaceful gathering of people to have a discussion rather than like a protest, which I thought was really good. And I personally feel like the vigil was a lot better because we were kind of there to kind of support each other and to show that this is a cause that we all care about. And the fact that it was peaceful and almost civil made it a lot better. Instead of kind of protests. Like I know in other parts of the world, there's been violent protests taking down statues of figures who may have been racist. And I feel like although that they might be expecting immediate solution and immediate change, but I feel like peaceful gatherings and civil conversation and discussion will go a lot farther.
I think when we had our roundtable discussion last night, somebody mentioned in the group how it was one of the first times she had felt a true sense of community in that. Did you guys see that, or Supraja, did you see that? Other people who weren't there, did you feel that kind of sense that it could be one of the first steps in building true community in North Andover?
Yeah, I definitely I wasn't there, but just seeing pictures and even just people on social media, you can just see that there's a greater sense of togetherness.
There was actually at the vigil, there was people who were, there's an open mic, so people could come up and talk about their experience and kind of how they're feeling like we are, but in to a greater audience. And it was so beautiful because there was a wide variety of ages. Like this little girl who was 6 talked about how she was really scared to come up there, but she knew she had to do it for her community. and she had to do it because it wasn't right. And I thought that was really, really powerful, how someone so young understands that this is something that it's not right and there has to be change. So I thought it was really, really powerful because there was old and young and students and adults, and I totally agree. I think that was the first time I really felt a sense of community, and a united front almost.
For the sake of being devil's advocate, I was particularly annoyed by the fact that there was this one person in particular who went up to the mic and she acted as though she was trying to be for the Black Lives Matter cause, but made it very much about herself as opposed to the community. And so I think that speaks to something many people on the right have harped on, which is that posting a black square on your Instagram page for one day is not going to solve racism, and doing it because it's trendy is the wrong reason to be doing it. And so to what extent are people genuinely doing it? And I think that is the vast majority of people do have good intentions, but some are just doing it for the sake of glomming onto the trend. Like you see brands doing it, instead of doing Pride Month advertisements, they're doing Black Lives Matter and anti-racism ads. And so, how much of it is just abusing and exploiting the protests for your own gain?
I think to kind of wrap all of this portion up, what's the next step in all of this? Do we continue to protest? Do we continue to speak out? What do you guys want to do moving forward as individuals, as a community? Why don't each one of you answer that, and we'll wrap up this session. We'll go in the same order we've been going in. Shruti, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll speak a little to what Eamon said and then the question. So Eamon's point about social media, I definitely think I kind of agree with the black square trend. I don't think that was doing much good in spreading information, which is kind of what a lot of people have been relying on social media for. And however, I do think it's a good step because you're reaching a wide group of people. And I think that you're allowing people to be more educated through, like, when you're posting pictures that are not just black squares, but actually like where to donate, where to sign, it's giving a greater perspective on how you can make a change individually. So I do support the whole idea of social media being a way for like greater change to occur, but I do think it should go a step further into the school system. So I know we talked a little about this at the roundtable we had, but definitely implementing something in the core curriculum where every student has to take it. And I know there was like a little debate on when is the age to do that, but I think at that point age is something that like varies on like person. So like based on whether you're mature, you're not going to mature at the same time to talk about serious topics like this compared to like someone else, like to the person next to you. So I think just including it in the core curriculum somehow is some change, and you don't know how everyone's going to take it, but I definitely think it's something that needs to be addressed.
So you're calling for some changes in our school and kind of integrating some of this into our school, which will be our next video, I think. We'll talk about some of the things we can do in the schools. Supraja, what do you think? Moving forward, what can you do? What can we do? What's our answer? How do we continue this?
I think just inviting more people and just talking to more people about how they're feeling. I think that the roundtable that we had, like Shruti mentioned, Mr. Sheehy mentioned, it really brought out some new voices, people who came there last minute, who were just kind of, I guess, new to our discussion group, had a lot of really, really good insights. And I think just talking to more people and seeing how they feel and just kind of almost providing a safe space for them to voice their opinions is something that's really important, because I feel like discussion is like honestly the best way to go forward about this. Eamon?
I think the key is not only continuing the conversation, but sustaining it. Because, from the beginning of the Montgomery bus boycotts, it took 10 years for the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1965. And even then, the work was not finished. It's going to be a long struggle, but it needs to be a sustained, continued protests over time to gain traction and to get legislation passed that will actually begin to right the wrongs of the past that have continued to persist throughout society. So continuing these discussions is a great way to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely like more discussions like we had yesterday, and especially hearing other people's experiences of like them facing any like sort of discrimination. I think that's like important for people to hear, just so that they get like multiple perspectives. And I've heard a lot of those types of like videos on social media itself. That's why I think that it's good that people have started posting videos like that. And I hope that like we can continue having discussions like these once we get back to school too.
I think a big part of the club is sharing stories, sharing experiences, sharing culture, and building that friendship. Amity is friendship, and kind of breaking those lines and building those bridges. And I really like what you guys had to say about dialogue and discussion. I think that's how we're going to initiate a change, and hopefully people enjoy these videos, enjoy everyone's perspective. We got the thumbs up. I like it. Well, thank you for joining us. We're going to have some more videos coming at you. On behalf of Race Amity, signing off.